Hi everyone, good evening and welcome. I hope you can hear me well. My name is Nancy Medina and I am a financial aid counselor at Pitzer College. Thank you for joining us today for this financial aid webinar. We hope you find this presentation helpful and that it will answer most of your questions about financial aid. Before we get started, I just want to go over a few guidelines. This presentation will be about 30 minutes long. Throughout the presentation, you will be able to chat questions live, which will be answered by our financial aid staff. Please be mindful that all participants can view your questions, and you may not want to ask questions that are too personal. Then at the end of the presentation, we will stay on for an additional 30 minutes to answer other questions you may have. Lastly, this presentation will be recorded and made available for reference later. You'll likely receive an email with a recording link. All right, so today we'll go over our mission, costs, merit aid, Pitzer need-based aid and next steps, our appeal process, work study, outside scholarships, the benefits of a Pitzer education, some FAQs, then we'll open it up to your questions. The mission of our office is the same as that of the admission office, to bring a talented and diverse student body to campus. This past academic year, 38% of Pitzer students received some type of need-based aid. In addition, Pitzer's dedicated to meeting 100% of your demonstrated need, and we'll define that a little later. Costs. The cost for this upcoming academic year is about $78,000, and it includes the direct cost for tuition, fees, your room, and board, which is your meal plan. These are your billable costs. Our budget also includes indirect cost, things you're not charged, like books, supplies, personal expenses, and transportation. A few notes regarding room and board. Our aid budget is based on you living on campus in a double, and our meal budget is based on you having the 16 meal plan, which is the higher meal plan. There's also a 12 meal plan that you can sign up for, which can help save you costs. Lastly, each student on aid has a transportation budget, which will vary based on where you live. Our students who live farther away, say New York or Hawaii, will have a higher transportation budget than our local students. While everyone's aid calculation is unique and individually reviewed, here's an income breakdown of last year's class. This chart includes all students who applied for and received need-based aid and where their family income fell. You can see from the chart that more than half of our students on need-based aid have parent incomes under $120,000. And then about 30% of our students have family incomes between $120,000 and $200,000. All right, on to merit aid. Pitzer does offer limited merit scholarships in the form of a $5,000 trustee scholarship. These scholarships are awarded by the Office of Admission at the time of admission and are not based on financial need. There's no separate process and all students are automatically considered. These scholarships have already been awarded, and if you were a recipient, congratulations. Decisions on these scholarships are final and cannot be appealed. These scholarships are also not awarded or reassessed at any later point. So, that being said, Pitzer is mostly need-based, and let's talk about that for a little bit. We offer grants and scholarships that come from the federal government in the form of a Pell Grant or SEOG grant, the state government in the form of a Cal Grant, and of course Pitzer need-based scholarships, which come from the college and our donors and make up the bulk of most aid packages. In addition, we offer self-help aid, which include loans through the direct loan program, as well as the parent loans through the Parent Plus Loan program. And last but not least, we offer work study through on-campus jobs, which we'll address later. Okay, so how is aid determined? Our office does a holistic review of all your financial information based on what you provided on the FAFSA, CSS profile, ISFA for our international students, and tax documents. We use all of this information to determine your expected family contribution, or EFC, which is the calculated amount of what your family is supposed to pay for college. Your EFC is based on many factors. However, the 4 key ones are your and your parents' income, your and your parents' assets, the size of your family, and the number of children enrolled in college. The EFC weighs all of this information and also offsets for things like federal and state taxes, the standard cost of living, educational savings for younger siblings, as we assume they will also go to college, and high medical expenses above the cost of insurance. For assets, the EFC takes into account and protects a portion of the assets for things like educational savings again, and an emergency reserve allowance. Lastly, the EFC includes a summer savings expectation that can range from $1,550 to $1,850. This expectation is an assumption that over the summer, you will be able to save about $1,550 from a summer job to bring with you to college to help cover some of your indirect expenses like books. All right, I know that was a lot of information, so take it in. Feel free to ask your questions through the chat feature while I take a quick water break. Okay, you can continue to ask your questions, but we'll move right along. So to determine your aid package, we take the cost of attendance, we subtract your calculated expected family contribution, and what's left over is your financial need, AKA your aid eligibility. At Pitzer, we 100% meet this need with a combination of a small loan of no more than $3,500, work study of no more than $2,500, and the rest of your need will be met with grants and scholarships from various sources, like the federal and state grants mentioned earlier, as well as Pitzer scholarships. Okay, so if you received a financial aid letter, here's how to read it. The first box of your aid letter was your financial aid package. This is the aid and funds we determined you were eligible to receive based on our review of your information. Grants and scholarships will be listed first, and they will always have the word grant or scholarship in them. And this is free money that you do not have to repay. Then some of you will have a work study award, which we'll discuss in more detail in a bit, followed by your federal subsidized loan eligibility. A few things to note: Pitzer only awards students to their maximum subsidized loan eligibility, which will not exceed $3,500 for first-year students. However, most students are also eligible for an unsubsidized loan of about $2,000 that can help further reduce your costs. If you're interested in this loan, we'll send more information about it over the summer. The next box of your aid letter is a breakdown of your actual direct and indirect costs, aka your budget. While earlier we went over the general costs, your letter will detail your budget and will list your specific transportation budget. Last but not least are your bill estimates. This box basically takes the cost for tuition and fees, room and board, and subtracts all of your grants and scholarships. If you were offered a loan and choose to borrow that loan, you can expect your bill estimates to be lower. A very important thing to notice here is that work study, if you were offered it, is not included. Work study will never be credited to your bill or reduced from what you will pay to Pitzer. Again, more on that to come shortly. All right, next steps. If you received your aid offer, it's important that you review whether it was an official offer or a tentative offer. If it was official, that's great. You're all set for now. If it was a tentative offer, review the third page of your letter, which will outline documents we need to finalize your package. Then if you commit to Pitzer, over the summer, we will send you information regarding your loans and additional loan and work study requirements. And then when school starts, we will make our financial aid information guide available. This guide will provide detailed information about our policies and procedures, and we highly encourage both students and parents to read it. Additional funding and payment plans. Aside from the subsidized loan that we offered as part of your package, there is also a parent loan options available. The Parent Plus Loan Program offers parents the opportunity to borrow up to the full cost of attendance minus any aid that the student receives. Currently, the interest rate on this loan is 7.08%. However, that interest is subject to change this summer. Pitzer also offers a payment plan to help break down the costs. Pitzer bills by semester, and every semester you will receive a bill that will include your direct charges minus your financial aid for that term. What's left over for the semester is what you would pay. And you can pay that in one lump sum at the start of each semester, in August for the fall and January for the spring, or you can break down that payment into 4 monthly payments per semester or 8 per year. It does cost $50 per semester or $100 per year to participate in the monthly payment plan. However, there's no additional interest charge. More information about the payment plan is sent to the student over the summer by the Student Accounts Office, the office that handles all the billing. Okay, let's talk about appeals. Appeals basically give you the opportunity to let us know your special circumstances and further review your situation that may not have been reflected on your aid applications. The CSS profile does provide a section where you could have written your special circumstances, and if you wrote something, those circumstances were all read during our initial review of your eligibility. So it may be possible that we did already take your circumstances into account if you reported them on the CSS profile. That being said, any student can request a second review of their financial aid package. Successful appeals are based on new information or changes since your application was reviewed. We have an appeal form on our financial aid website that you would need to submit to have your aid reconsidered. But first, let's talk about what can be appealed. Our appeal form will outline all the circumstances that we can consider for a reassessment of your eligibility. Those things include if there's been a loss or reduction in your family's income that's not reflected on their 2018 taxes, if there's been a recent separation or divorce between parents, if there are high medical or dental expenses above the cost of insurance, if there are high elder care expenses for grandparents of the family, or if there has been a recent passing of a student's parent. Review our appeal form, check the circumstances that apply to you, and provide the documentation requested on the form for said circumstance. Things that we do not consider are matching other schools' offers. Pitzer's need-based program is entirely based on our review of your financial eligibility, and unfortunately, another school's offer does not impact what we can offer. Merit appeals are not considered. If you used our net price calculator and received different results from your aid offer, those appeals are not considered. Though you are welcome to contact our office and we can discuss the possible reasons for any differences. Consumer debt is not something we can take into account or offset in our calculation. A parent's unwillingness to provide support or no longer being claimed on a parent's taxes. For aid purposes, students are considered dependent until they are 24 years old or reach other benchmarks. Otherwise, we will require parental information to determine aid eligibility each year. Expenses that have not yet occurred cannot be considered now. Though when changes do happen, reach out to us and we can talk about the appeal process at that time. And voluntary change of employment is also not considered. This usually includes voluntary retirement or voluntary change of professions. Again, I know this was a lot of information, so go ahead and ask your questions again while I take another quick water break. Okay. Again, you can keep asking questions throughout the entire presentation. Let's go ahead then. So work study. Work study gives you the opportunity to work and earn money to help pay for some of your costs. After you find a job and start working, money goes directly to you in the form of a paycheck or direct deposit. This is a real job and you get paid as you would any other job. The money you earn can be used to help pay your indirect costs like books, supplies, or toiletries, or you can use your money to help pay your bill. It's really up to you and your family how you decide to use your work-study money. The max you can earn is the amount listed on your aid letter, and you will be asked to stop working once you reach your allotted amount. Lastly, if you don't earn all or any of your work-study, that's fine too. Nothing happens if you don't earn your work-study. However, you won't get that unearned portion of your allotment any other way, so it goes unearned and unpaid. So how it all shakes out: first, you look for a job. Open positions will be posted close to the start of the school year. You apply for positions and hopefully get hired. You complete hiring paperwork with HR to be officially considered a student employee. You set a work schedule with your supervisor that meets both their needs and your class schedule. You get paid every other Friday for hours worked in the prior 2 weeks. And again, the pay goes to you. A few other things to mention: you won't be able to start working until you complete all employment paperwork with HR. You'll likely receive some communication over the summer about those requirements, as well as where to search for jobs. Also, you can't really get a jump start on applying for positions until school starts. I know a lot of students are eager to work and want to secure employment right away, but you really do need to wait until closer to the start of classes. Okay, let's talk about outside scholarships for a second. Outside scholarships are scholarship funds that you obtain on your own from private companies, community organizations, foundations, or even your high school. It's very important that if you receive any outside scholarships that you let our office know. Outside scholarships have to be incorporated into your financial aid offer and cannot be added on top of what you've already received at Pitzer. Normally, outside scholarships will reduce your summer earnings contribution, which we talked about earlier, which is about $1,550, followed by your loan, followed by your work study. It is possible for your outside scholarships to cover the cost of Pitzer's health insurance or the cost of a laptop. However, that will depend on the scholarship organization, and you will still have to report the scholarship to our office and coordinate those details with us. If you're going to receive a lot of scholarships or one big scholarship, let us know right away, as that may impact the scholarship you received from Pitzer. And by a lot, I would say anything more than $6,900 per year. Touch base with us if you think that may be your situation, and we can help provide aid estimates and guidance. All right, so let's shift gears to some other type of numbers. While Pitzer students are offered a subsidized loan as part of their package, our students do graduate with less debt than the national average. For students who graduated in May 2019, the average debt was about $26,000. To put that into perspective, this comes out to monthly payments of about $220 over the course of 10 years, which is the standard loan repayment plan. In addition, our students repay their loans, which is a good sign of their financial strength. Our default rate, which is the rate of students whose loans go into default or non-payment, is quite low at 3.5%. So a few other benefits. Our retention rate, which is the rate of students who enroll, stay enrolled, and graduate, is over 90%, which is a sign of student satisfaction. Our student to faculty ratio is 11:1, with an average class size of 16. And more than 50% of our students will travel abroad and complete an exchange program. And then, of course, we are part of the Claremont College Consortium, which offers many unique opportunities and resources. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Here's our contact information. The people that have been answering your questions throughout this presentation have been members of our staff. Carla Valdez, who's our financial aid assistant and the lovely voice you hear when you call our office. Catherine Acosta, who's our assistant director, who reviews students with the last names A through I. Myself, Nancy Medina, who reviews students with the last names J through R. I'm also fluent in Spanish, so if your parents only speak Spanish, contact our office and they can speak with me. Kara Moore, our director, who reviews students with the last names S through Z. And Yvonne Bruman, our VP of Admission and Financial Aid, who oversees the whole process. Feel free to reach us by phone. While we are all working remotely these days, we are still answering our phone line. However, emails may be quicker for us to respond to. You can email us at financial_aid@pitzer.edu. Also, visit our website, We have a lot of useful tools, information, and a lot of details online at www.pitzer.edu/financial-aid. Okay, so what we'll do now is go over some questions that we are asked pretty much every year. So if these are your questions, you're not alone. Will Pitzer match my financial aid offer? As mentioned earlier, unfortunately, no, we don't match either need-based offers or merit-based offers from other schools. How is merit determined and how will it impact my financial aid award? Merit awards are determined by the admission office. If awarded a merit scholarship, it will be coordinated with your financial aid offer. Can I receive additional aid for being an athlete? Unfortunately, no. Pitzer College is a Division III school, which means we cannot offer any athletic scholarships, and none of the aid that we offer can be for athletes. What if I have some special circumstances or my financial situation changes after submitting my application? We will review any appeals pertaining to job loss, decreased income, or uncovered medical dental expenses. Touch base with our office at any point if your financial circumstances change. How long will it take to receive a response to my appeal? We work to get information back to you as quickly as we can, and no longer than 2 weeks. We encourage you to submit any appeal information as soon as possible so that we can provide a response before the May 1 commit deadline. My parents are divorced. Will this affect my financial aid? Pitzer College will calculate contributions from both parents, custodial and non-custodial. If the non-custodial parent cannot be reached, the student may submit the non-custodial waiver form, which requires a letter from the student and a third party. These waivers are normally considered during the initial review process prior to admission. How do step parents figure into the process? Step parents are considered a parent for financial aid purposes and are considered in the aid calculation. Are retirement funds and home equity taken into consideration? Yes. Contributions made to retirement funds during the tax year are considered untaxed income, and home equity is considered part of a family's net worth. Can I decline my loan? Yes, though declined loans cannot be replaced with other types of funding, such as grants or scholarships. Can I decline my work study? Also yes, but we encourage you not to. There's no harm in accepting your work study and not using it. If later you decide you do want to work, it's best to have it available. What other costs will I have? Additional costs could include health insurance and course fees. All Pitzer students are required to have health insurance. If you are otherwise covered, you can waive out of Pitzer's health insurance plan. The health insurance plan is about $2,500. Some classes also have course fees. Students who receive need-based Pitzer scholarship will receive grant assistance to cover academic course fees, which usually range from $50 to $100. All right, folks, that was it. Now, if you have any other questions, now's the time to ask. I'll step away for a little bit while we filter through your questions. I'll come back in about 5 minutes to answer some of those questions live. We hope you found this presentation worth your time, and from the entire admission and financial aid team at Pitzer, I want to thank you for joining us. All right, back in 5. Thanks, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm back. So we went through some of your questions, and I'll address some things that have been coming up. So first thing regarding assets, it seems like there are a lot of questions of what assets are considered and how are things considered. So in the CSS profile, when you report your assets, you report for both the parents and the student, cash and savings, investments, which are usually any trusts, any certificates of deposit, any other types of accounts. You also report any real estate, and the equity of that real estate is taken into account, and the equity is always the value of the property or properties minus the debt, and that difference is the equity on your home, and the equity of your business. So basically, all of those assets combined is your net worth. From your net worth, the aid calculation does offset for certain things, like I mentioned, an educational savings allowance and an emergency reserved allowance. And then anywhere from 3 to 8% of the total assets for the parents are weighed into the calculation and to the expected family contribution. For students who tend to have less assets than their parents, all the same things get factored if they apply. Mostly students will have cash and savings. Maybe there's a trust fund. Maybe there's some college savings accounts. And for students, about 25% of their assets are built into the expected family contribution in that calculation. So that's general overview of the assets and how the CSS profile and Pitzer takes those into account when determining your expected family contribution. Now, a couple questions about appeals and some logistics. You are welcome to schedule an appointment if you want to discuss appealing before submitting your appeal form, especially if you're not sure if things that you reported on the CSS profile were or were not considered. What'll happen is sometime on Monday, we'll send basically everyone a link to this recording as well as to the PowerPoint. And on that email, there will be an option for the students to schedule an appointment with their financial aid counselor. And that'll either be myself, our director, Kara Moore, or our assistant director, Catherine Acosta. And basically, you would be able to log into your portal, schedule, see the times that we are available to meet, pick a time that works for you. We get that notification, and then you'll hear back from Carla, who will give you details about the Zoom link and the appointments for that. And then a couple of other questions. Let's see. For appeals, if you do not have documentation for something that you're trying to appeal, that does tend to be difficult for us to take into account. I would highly encourage that if you don't have documentation for an appeal, that you contact our office and that you have a conversation with us so that we can kind of go over more of those details and on a one-on-one be able to guide you better as to what we could accept to try to take into account your circumstances and have a more deeper conversation with you about that. So we are still going to stay on the chat until 6:30 or until there's no more questions. But this is it for me. So again, I want to thank you from our admission and financial aid team. And please reach out to us if you have any other questions that come up. Something comes up tomorrow, give us a call. Thank you, everyone.